Hi guys, this particular series goes out to Hannah and Carol McGarvey. Hey girls, I've been wanting to do this for a while and I want to read your story. I think this is a very important story that everyone should be read to when they're about 6 or 7, so this is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I want to read you like a chapter or two a day. The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, by J.R.R. Tolkien. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with dens of worms and the ozine smell, or yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down or eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened onto a tube-shaped hallway like a tunnel, a very comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paneled walls and floors tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The Hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on and on, going fairly but not straight into the side of the hill as the people for many miles around called it. And many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side and then another. No go upstairs for the Hobbit, bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these. Wardrobes, he had whole rooms dedicated to clothes. Kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor, and indeed the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side going in, for these were the only ones to have windows, deep-set round windows, looking over his garden and the meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. The Hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking him. This is a story of how a Baggins had an adventure and found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. He may have lost the respect of neighbors, but he gained, well, you'll see whether he gained anything in the end. The mother of this particular hobbit. What is a hobbit? I suppose hobbits need some description nowadays, since they have become rare and shy of the big people, as they call us. They were, or are, a little people, about half our height and smaller than the bearded dwarves. Hobbits have no beards. There is little or no magic about them except the ordinary everyday sort that helps them disappear quickly and quietly when large stupid folk... Sorry, lost my place. Large stupid folk like you and me come blundering along, making a noise like elephants, which they can hear for a mile off. They are inclined to be fat in the stomach. They dress in bright colors, chiefly green and yellow. They wear no shoes because their feet grow naturally leathery soles and thick brown hair like stuff on our heads, which is curly. They have long, clever brown fingers, good-natured faces, and laugh deep, fruity laughs, especially after dinner, which they have twice a day when they can get it. Now, you know what I don't have to go on with. As I was saying, the mother of this hobbit, Bilbo Baggins that is, was the famous Belladonna Took, one of the 3 remarkable daughters of Old Took, the head of the hobbits who lived across the water and the small river that ran at the foot of the hill. It was often said, in other families, that long ago one of the Took ancestors must have taken a fairy wife. That was, of course, absurd, but certainly there was something not entirely hobbit-like about them. And once in a while, members of the Took clan would go off and have adventures. They discreetly disappeared, and their family hushed it up. But the fact that Tooks were not as respectful as the Bagginses though they were undoubtedly richer. Not that Belladonna and Took had any adventures after she became Mrs. Bungo Baggins. Bungo was Bilbo's father. He built the most luxurious hobbit hole for her, and partly with her money, that was to be found either under the hill or over the hill or across the water, and they remained there to the end of their days. Still, it is probable that Bilbo, her only son, although he looked and behaved exactly like a second edition of his solid and comfortable father, got something a bit queer in his makeup from the Took side. Something that only waited for a chance to come out. The chance never arrived until Bill Baggins, being about 50 years old or so, and living in a beautiful hobbit hole built by his father, and living in the beautiful... which I just described for you, until he had, in fact, apparently settled down immovably. By some chance one morning in the quiet of the world, when there was less noise and more grain, and the hobbits were still numerous and prosperous, and Bill Baggins was standing at the door after breakfast smoking an enormous long wooden that reached nearly down to his woolly toes, neatly brushed, Gandalf came by. Gandalf! If you had heard only a quarter of what I had heard about him, and I have only heard very little of all there is to hear, you'll be prepared for any sort of remarkable tale. Tales and adventures sprouted up all over the place wherever he went, in the most extraordinary fashion. He had not been down that way under the hill for ages and ages, not since his friend the old Took died. In fact, and hobbits had almost forgotten what he looked like. He had been away over the hill and across the water on business of his own since they were all small hobbit boys and girls. All that the unsuspecting Bilbo saw that morning was an old man with a staff. He had a tall pointed blue hat, a long grey cloak, a silver scarf which a white beard hung down below his waist, and immense black boots. "Good morning," said Bilbo, and he meant it. The sun was shining and the grass was very green, but Gandalf looked at him from under long bushy eyebrows and stuck out further than the brim of his shady hat. "What do you mean?" he said. "Do you wish me a good morning? Or that is a good morning whether I like it or not? Or that you feel good this morning? Or that is a morning to be good on?" "All of them at once," said Bilbo, "and a very fine morning for a pipe of tobacco out of the doors into the bargain. If you have a pipe about you, sit down and have a fill of mine. There's no hurry, we have all day before us." Then Bilbo sat down on a seat by his door, crossed his legs, and blew out a beautiful great ring of smoke that sailed into the air, felt breaking, and floated over the hill. "Very pretty," said Gandalf, "but I have no time to blow smoke rings this morning. I am looking for someone to share an adventure that I am arranging, and it is very difficult to find anyone." "I should think so in these parts. We are plain, quiet folk, and have no use for adventures. Nasty, disturbing things. That's nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Make you late for dinner." "I can't think what anyone sees in them," said our Mr. Baggins, and stuck one thumb under his braces and blew out an even bigger smoke ring. He took out his morning letters and began to read, pretending not to take any more notice of the old man. He decided that he was not quite his sort and wanted him to go away. But the old man did not move. He stood leaning on his stick and gazing at the hobbit without saying anything, till Bilbo got quite uncomfortable and even a little cross. "Good morning," he said at last. "We don't want any adventures here, thank you. You might well try over the hill or across the water." By this he meant the conversation was at an end. "Well, a lot of things you use good morning for," said Gandalf. "Now you mean that you want to get rid of me, and that it won't be good until I move off." Not at all, my dear sir. Let me see, I don't even think I know your name." Yes, my dear son. You do know my name, Mr. Bilbo Baggins. I'm sorry. And I do know your name, Mr. Bilbo Baggins. And you do know my name, although you don't remember it belonging to me. I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me. To think that I should have lived to be good morning by Belladonna Took's son, as if I was selling buttons at the door. Gandalf! Gandalf, good gracious me! Not the wonder wizard that gave old Took a pair of diamond studs that fastened themselves and never came undone until ordered. Not the fellow who used to tell such wondrous tales at parties about dragons and goblins and giants and the rescue of princesses and the unexpected luck of widow sons. Not the man that used to make such particularly excellent fireworks. I remember those. Old Took used to have them on Midsummer's Eve. Splendid! They used to go up like great lilies, the snapdragons, and lanterns of fire and hang in the twilight all evening. You notice already that Mr. Baggins was not quite so prosy as you'd like to believe. Also, he was very fond of flowers. Dear me, he went on, not the Gandalf who was responsible for so many quiet lads and lasses going off into the blue for mad adventures. Anything from climbing trees to visiting elves or sailing in ships, sailing to other shores. Bless me, life used to be quite used to upset people badly in these parts once upon a time. I beg your pardon, but I had no idea you were still in business. Where else should I be? Said the wizard. All the same, I am pleased to find you remember something about me. You seem to remember my fireworks kindly. At any rate, and that is not without hope. Indeed, for your old grandfather Took's sake, and for the sake of poor Belladonna, I will give you what you asked for. I beg your pardon, I haven't asked for anything. Yes, you have. Twice now. My pardon. I give it to you. In fact, I would go so far as to send you on this adventure. Very amusing for me, very good for you, and profitable too. Very likely if you never get over it. Sorry, I don't want any adventures, thank you. Not today, good morning. Please come by for tea. Anytime you'd like. Why not tomorrow? Come tomorrow. Goodbye. And with that, the Hobbit turned and scuttled inside his round green door and shut it quickly, as he dared not to seem rude. Wizards, after all, are wizards. What on earth did I ask him to tea for? He said to himself as he went to the pantry. He had only just had breakfast, but he thought a cake or two and a drink of something might do him good after his fright. Gandalf, in the meantime, was standing outside the door, laughing long but quietly. And after a while he stepped up, and with the spike of his staff, scratched a queer sign on the Hobbit's beautiful green front door. Then he strolled away just about the time when Bilbo was finishing his second cake and beginning to think that he had escaped adventures very well. And I'll end it here, as I want these to be about 15 minutes, because you are in fact young and you have a short attention span at this point. So I will talk to you tomorrow, and have a good night, and I will read you more of this chapter. Have a good night. My name is Grandwolf, and have a good evening.